After World War II began, Germany invaded and occupied northwestern France in May of 1940. The United States later entered the war in December 1941, following the attack on Pearl Harbor. A few years later, the US planned with Britain and Canada an Allied invasion. The invasion was to take place by sea, as Allied forces were to reach Normandy in order to get rid of Nazi forces to liberate France. Adolf Hitler took early notice of this and put Erwin Rommel in charge of fortifying all bunkers, adding landmines, and adding obstacles across all coastlines. On January 1944, General Dwight Eisenhower was appointed commander of Operation Overlord, or also known as D-Day. During the morning at 6 a.m. on January 6, 1944, Eisenhower gave the go-ahead for Operation Overlord. He told the troops, "You are about to embark upon the great crusade toward which we have striven these many months. The eyes of the world are upon you." Allied forces began their invasion, sending soldiers to Omaha Beach, where heavy resistance was faced. German soldiers were using the MG-42 machine gun to hold off US, Britain, and Canadian soldiers. This machine gun shot 22 bullets per second, making it a weapon the Allied forces had never faced before. It was known as the deadliest machine gun in history at the time. After invading Omaha Beach and losing over 2,000 soldiers, the Allied troops gained control of Normandy beaches. This later led to victory in Normandy, and Paris was liberated in August of 1944, where the Nazis faced a huge blow as they lost control of northwestern France.
There were many important dates during D-Day, one of them being June 5, 1944. June 5th was the date that Eisenhower selected as the invasion, but due to bad weather, it was delayed 24 hours. More than 5,000 ships and landing crafts carrying troops and supplies left England to cross Channel to France. Meanwhile, more than 11,000 aircrafts were mobilized to provide air cover and support for the invasion. August 1944 was the victory in Normandy. The Allies had just reached the Seine River. Paris was liberated and the Germans had been removed from northwestern France. This concluded the Battle of Normandy. Later, the Normandy invasion began to turn the tide against the Nazis. A significant psychological blow prevented Hitler from sending troops from France to build up his eastern fronts against the advancing Soviets.
Important places include Normandy, as it was the Allied troops' main focus to begin their attack; Paris, as Allied troops' main goal was to liberate Paris and France; and Omaha Beach, which was where the main invasion took place. Some important historical actors include Adolf Hitler, who was a German politician and leader of the Nazi Party. Number two, we have General Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was an American Army general during World War II, and he's also the 34th President of the United States from 1953 to 1961. And third, we have Erwin Rommel, who was a German general and military theorist. During D-Day, the two sides were the Germans, who were the Nazis, and the other side were the Allied forces, which are the US, Britain, and Canada, to name a few. Important developments that happened before or occurred after D-Day include the attack on Pearl Harbor, the liberation of Paris and France, and the U.S. involvement in World War II. The attack on Pearl Harbor and the U.S. involvement in World War II coincide with each other, as when Japan attacked the U.S. felt no other need than to get involved in the war. And the liberation of France was the main reason for the invasion of Normandy. So these are some important developments that occurred before and after D-Day. Also, to include to the U.S. involvement in World War II, thanks to this, the war ended in favor of the Allies and in the defeat of the Nazis. God knows what would have happened if the U.S. never got involved in this war. Some consequences and effects from D-Day include the amount of soldiers which died during the war, the ending of the war, and the end of the Nazi regime. Thank you for listening, and have a wonderful day.